Okay, cool. All right. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank everyone who's joining us here and who will be watching this recording later to our candidate forum and our April monthly meeting here at the Culver City Democratic Club. I am Gina, your president, and I, along with our politics and elections chair, Leah Pressman, and the rest of our board, will be bringing you some good down ballot races that I don't want you to skip. Okay, we do not skip down ballot. So we're going to start off this meeting with our sheriff candidates. We are going to hear from a sheriff candidate for LA County Sheriff, Eric Strong, and then we'll hopefully hear from the sheriff incumbent Robert Luna, and then we're going to go into our judicial candidates, which there are many. Did you know there's 201 judicial seats for LA County? I had no idea, but that's what the registrar said. So we don't have 201 tonight, so don't worry, but we do have a lot, and I think that's really important to hear from them because you want to know, especially when we're so concerned about criminal justice reform, who's going to be sitting on that bench, right? So what I want to do, I'm going to start off with our first sheriff's candidate and give him a few minutes to introduce himself and tell you a bit about his campaign. And then we'll, if we have time, ask a question or two or take a question or two from the chat. If you do have questions, please feel free to put them in our chat. Leah will be monitoring and trying to grab those questions out. So I want to introduce candidate for LA County Sheriff, Eric Strong. I'm going to go ahead and pin you, Mr. Strong, so that you'll be able to have the floor, okay?
Righty.
There we go.
All right. Well, thank you. Good evening. Thank you all for taking the time to be here today. My name is Eric Strong, and I'm bringing 32 years of experience from law enforcement over the course of four different agencies. I started my career in the early 90s with Compton Police Department. I worked Pasadena. The majority of my career was with the LA County Sheriff's Department, and my last working assignment was as a chief of campus safety and security at LA County Probation before I retired just last year. Within that time, I bring years of experience in internal oversight with internal affairs, years of experience with as the unit commander of our advocacy bureau, audit and accountability bureau, and working in risk management, which really gave me a peek behind the curtain of what goes on within the department. In addition to working patrol, court, custody, SWAT, being a field training officer and a gang investigator. So I really bring a well-rounded level of experience with many, many years overseeing large operations, overseeing budgets. I think it's really my personal experience, my life experience, growing up here in LA County, having negative experiences with law enforcement, having family members that have suffered from addiction and mental health and been incarcerated, being a victim myself, being assaulted. And I think that's what really gives me a 360-degree perspective on what is really needed, what's needed from our communities, but also how to do it better in law enforcement. I want to just add a couple of things that in the last 4 years, and I so appreciate Culver City Democratic Club. They endorsed me in the last time that I ran. Over the last 4 years, I've gotten some of that executive experience. I finished my master's degree. But here's the reality. I endorsed Luna in the last election, and I came in third overall. He really wanted my support. And I can tell you that I wouldn't be running today if he had kept his promises. His promise to increase transparency and not to fight against the Civilian Oversight Commission. His promises to get rid of deputy gangs. You know, the difference in how I would run this department is I know the internal workings. I've investigated deputy gangs. I have a plan. I was the only one that was ready to close Men's Central Jail 3 years ago, and I have a plan. I have a plan for outcome-based diversion. I mean, comprehensive books that I've been actually putting together pilot programs on to increase our recruitment and retention of hiring. And we got to get rid of these problematic officers that we have, these problematic deputies that are costing hundreds of millions of dollars defending them. And even though Culver City may have their own police department, you're still paying, your tax dollars are still paying for this. So I'm encouraged to be here with you today. I look forward to any questions that you may have. I am the candidate that is going to be the most progressive, the one that's going to stand up against ICE, stand up against immigration, that is going to close Men's Central Jail, When we look at the $100 million that's being spent to defend deputies, we're talking about lawsuits for sexual abuse against women in our jails, lawsuits for the inhumane conditions at Men's Central Jail. These are not things that have to be. These are not anomalies. These are not bad apples. This is repeated time and time again, failed leadership. So I do have the plans, and I hope I can answer some questions with any of you and all of you this evening. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for that introduction. Very concise to the point. I love it. So we do have a couple of questions that we discussed as a board that we felt like folks would want to know about. And you kind of answered one of them, but we also wanted to just overall get your kind of point of view. Like, what do you see as a flaw in the criminal justice system? Like, if you could immediately just point to one thing when I say flaw in criminal justice, like do you believe that comes to your mind when you hear that?
Flaw is transparency and collaboration. Those are the biggest things. And if I can, it's so funny that you asked. If I could read something that you actually wrote in the January 26th Active Democrat, and it was impactful for me because the president's message basically says clarity means naming lies lies, refusing to share misinformation and challenging it when we hear it. It means grounding our conversations in facts, values, and lived experience. Listen, that is the flaw in law enforcement. We are not calling the lies lies. And when I say we, it's not the community, it's not the outcry from the public. We hear what they're saying. It's when law enforcement can't look in the mirror and realize that they are the problem. They are the biggest contributor to the problems. And that's only going to be fixed when we have transparency, when we open up our doors, when we allow the public in to see the investigations, to see behind the curtain, and when we collaborate. We've got to partner with people. We can't always do everything in-house and just try to keep it like the old cartoon. It's mine, 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 mine. That's what's hurting us. So those are the two biggest problems.
Oh wow, thank you. That was yeah, the transparency part is definitely something that I 100% agree with. And then also another question was also shared. It says in Los Angeles with charter reform, the city council is considering requiring law enforcement officers to carry a liability insurance to address spiraling costs. Now, that's now absorbed by the general fund and taxpayers and so of these costs, or excuse me, we're absorbing the cost for the successful lawsuits around police misconduct. Do you support something similar for the sheriff's department, as in like liability insurance?
Yeah, and to be fully transparent with you, I actually consulted on that with some of the commission for the charter reform. It was actually some information that I received and that I've been researching for quite some time with an individual that was pushing for legislation for this many, many years ago. And my recommendation and what I told to the commission was you can't bring that cost within to the city. The cost has to be passed on to the officers. That means they have some stake, in the game. It's going to create some bite. And if they've got to pay their own insurance, then and if it goes up because they're getting too many complaints or they're getting these lawsuits or too many uses of force or shootings, it's going to be impactful. So absolutely, I support it. Again, they came to me and I had some conversation with them, and I absolutely support it. But I would do it on a different level. Like I said, I know that right away it would be something that we have to tier in multiple layers, especially for those deputies that have been on for a long time. But I think that we make that part of our hiring practice, and we say, hey, if you want to when you get your job, your conditional offer for employment, one of those things like signing up for medical benefits is you're going to agree to carry this insurance. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. And it is not actually that far-fetched. Physicians carry it, nurses, we carry liability insurance because a lot of times we just have to go beyond what our employer might, provide us. So it's not far-fetched.
Absolutely.
So I think that I was all for the questions that I saw. Was there, Leah, did you see any other questions? Did I skip anything?
I'm not
I
seeing
think that's it.
anything else in the chat. Wait, hold on. Maybe there's something.
I could throw one in if you're looking for a question.
Oh,
Sure.
okay. We'll finish up with your question, Danny. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for coming and visiting us tonight. You touched on this just briefly. But I would be interested in knowing like how specifically you would address ICE's threat in Los Angeles. We have a lot of, I feel like it's almost impossible to know to the true, like a true extent of how much cooperation and collaboration there is. I know, like with the flock systems, for example, I know that ICE agents are able to access those databases one way or another. What ways would you see as appropriate to kind of limit the the way that LA County would collaborate with the federal government in these like really egregious enforcement actions that they've been taking lately?
That's a great question. I want to say this, and I was at a Civilian Oversight Commission meeting, and you can look this up. You can actually find it just a couple of months ago. And I heard the current sheriff say that one of the reasons he was cooperating is because the president threatened to send in the Marines. And as you stated, Madam President, in your president's message, we have to call the lies lies. Um, the threat to bring in the Marine Corps or the National Guard was to protect federal property. It was never to come in and take over law enforcement. And I would challenge anybody to find where Trump said, I'm bringing in the Marines or National Guard to take over law enforcement. That was not the case. So the first thing I would do is speak out against it. I, as the sheriff, have a huge platform. As the chief law enforcement official within the county, you have to take a stand. And we have a sheriff that's not taking a stand, right? You have to say, we don't want you here. You're not allowed. We don't agree with you. We're not going to help you. Right now, within our county, within our system, the deputies and the personnel are being told to stay out of it. And I'll give you an example. What does that mean for a courthouse? If any of you have ever been in a courthouse, what do you have to do whenever you enter? You have to go through a metal detector. You have to put your bag through a scanner. The message is stay out of it. So what does that mean? When you come into a facility that's protected by the sheriff's department, a courthouse, a library, a hospital, the message has been said, stay out of it. And I say absolutely not. We will not let masked, armed men into our buildings. We may not be able to control what they do outside on the sidewalk, but we will not let them into our buildings to wreak havoc, to cause harm, to terrorize people. We have to take a stand. And so my stand would be just that. It would be very loud. It would be very bold. And I think, listen, law enforcement is the only entity constitutionally and that has the equipment and the resources to stand between the community and this terrorizing ICE agency. There's nobody else that can do it. And if we won't do it, who will? So I will say, first of all, we got to speak out against it loudly and boldly. We will resist at every point in every area that we can. There will be some laws that we must abide by, but even those will be deeply scrutinized. And just like he can go to a court and ask them if it's okay for me to abide by legislation when it comes to transparency, which is what he did. I mean, we have AB 847 and the sheriff is fighting against it through a lawsuit. Why can't I do that same lawsuit and go to court and delay, stall, do whatever tactic I can to fight against ICE and even by and complying with some of the laws that are on the books for those as well. So we have to have somebody that wants to do it, and I am that person.
All right, thank you so
Thank you.
much. So everyone's Eric Strong, candidate for LA County Sheriff. Thank you so much for joining us. And then
Thank you.
we'll, be after taking up our actual endorsement vote electronically. So we won't have results until like after the electronic ballot is done, but we'll be reaching out to all of our candidates. And I want to thank you for joining us so much.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
so with that being said, we're going to keep moving along to our next candidate. I believe we have the LA County Sheriff with us, Robert Luna. I know he had may have.
I am here if you can hear me.
Okay, yes. I'm sorry. I was looking for your name to bring it up. There we go. I found it. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and spotlight you here. So then you can have a few minutes to introduce yourself and tell everyone about your campaign, and then we have maybe take a couple of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for your patience tonight, Culver City. I
Oh,
appreciate you being involved in this process. I just completed a meeting with the LA 28 folks. As you know, we're heavily involved in planning for what's going to be the world's biggest Olympics ever in the history of the world. And I'm very proud to be contributing to that effort on every resident of LA County. So for me, in a nutshell, I've been in law enforcement for approximately 40 years. I have dedicated my career to protecting the communities and leading with absolute integrity. I spent 16 years of those 40 years in operational assignments in a variety of them, but I spent 24 years in executive management, raising or rising through every rank at the Long Beach Police Department. I have, for over a decade, I have led two major law enforcement agencies. I was the chief for the Long Beach Police Department, where I worked for 36 years, and now I've been your sheriff for the last 3 years. And by the way, when I left the city of Long Beach, I actually got the key to the city for my community interaction and collaboration and really reforming the Long Beach Police Department like I'm doing now with the Sheriff's Department. But it doesn't stop there for me. I have been a leader not only here in LA County, but I have also been a leader throughout the country, not in our state and throughout the country. I am recognized as a top law enforcement executive where I'm consistently being asked questions from other police chiefs around the country and other sheriffs because of a lot of the work that I've accomplished. I have worked very hard to restore legitimacy with and trust within the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I've reduced crime in all the years. The last 3 years I've been your sheriff. I've reduced use of force. I've reduced deputy involved shootings, especially in 2025. I reduced them by over 40%. And I've been leading real reform. A lot of folks told me you can't come into the sheriff's department and change a lot of the things that are happening. I'm catching a lot of people off guard because I'm doing exactly that. That's why I'm being called by different agencies around the country. How are you doing this? And I'm always able to lend a hand to others that are asking. I've moved our department into 21st century policing. What does that mean? That I've increased accountability in a lot of the things we do. I've increased transparency. If you go to the lasd.org website today, you will see all of our uses of force that are listed on there. You will see body worn camera footage that is now released. When I got there, the sheriff's department wasn't releasing it. That's what transparency is all about. With as long as I stay within the law, I have done a lot to improve our jails. Compliance is way up. I don't know if many of you know this, but I inherited 5 different court orders at the sheriff's department, 4 in our custody facilities, 1 out in the Antelope Valley. You can go back to that lasd.org and you can listen to the federal monitors to see how much progress has been made. But I want to couch this that we have a lot of work that still needs to be done, but we are on the path to doing some great things. I've prioritized community relations, improved employee wellness, and most importantly, I have repaired a lot of fractured relationships. And sometime through this interview, I want to talk to you about all the endorsements that I've received that goes to the relationships that I have developed, fixed, and I'm maintaining. Because in law enforcement, the only way to be effective is through collaboration and partnerships.
Thank you so much, Sheriff Luna, for sharing with us. So I will ask a couple of the same questions we asked, Mr. Strong as well, just some questions we developed from our board. One of which is super, just kind of broad. So, what do you see as a flaw, or like when we talk about flaws of criminal justice system, what is that one thing that just pops into your mind right away when we say flaw and you hear that flaw in criminal justice?
I think for me, it's why I became a police officer over 40 years ago. As a kid growing up in East Los Angeles, I didn't see my family or neighbors being treated well by the police. As a matter of fact, my first interview when I tried to become an explorer for the LA County Sheriff's Department, I walked out of there almost in tears because my family kept on telling me, we don't want you to be a police officer. They're not the good people. And obviously, I was a good kid. I listened to my parents, but I did get into law enforcement. And this is where I've had an impact in changing things. So I'd say it's relationships and the way that we treat people in law enforcement and trying to look at things as equally as we possibly can, no matter what color you are, what culture you come from, what religion you have, getting that biased out of law enforcement. And believe it or not, I mean, there's bias everywhere, but we've worked really hard at the sheriff's department to do that. And honestly, as your sheriff, that's the first thing I did. I noticed that people weren't treating each other well in the sheriff's department. And I really focused on that effort so that if you're treating each other well, your bosses are treating you well, that you can go out and treat the community. And as I tell my employees, treat the community the way you want to see one of your family members treated. So it is the treatment of other folks.
Yes, thank you so much. And then the next question we had discussed was excuse me, the with the LA County, or excuse me, LA Los Angeles charter reform, and the city council requiring, or considering requiring law enforcement officers, sorry, to carry liability insurance to address the spiraling kind of out of control cost that, from lawsuits against the departments that are being passed on to taxpayers now. Would you support something like a liability, or officers carrying a liability insurance or something similar in the sheriff's department?
I would absolutely look at the the devil's in the details, as they say, to figure out how to reduce any liability to any department. And I want to give you an example. Yesterday, the county of Los Angeles paid out $8 million because of some deputy gang activity that occurred 7.5 years ago. This is exactly why I was elected. But what I did in front of the board, I talked to them about all the reform measures I'm taking. So a lot of the reform has to be created within the department. I'm willing to look at any option to reduce the financial impact to taxpayers. We're all taxpayers. That's not where we want our money going. But you really have to look at risk management and accountability within the department. And if you look at my record, not only in what I did in Long Beach, but what I'm doing here at the sheriff's department, I have significantly reduced the lawsuits that are occurring. And that's done by the risk assessment or risk management that you're doing. What you're talking about as well, what you have to consider, we're having a heck of a time in law enforcement across the board in recruiting. And you got to look at the impact of what it would do to folks that are either currently working or you're trying to recruit into law enforcement. And again, it starts from day one, teaching people how to treat people right, follow policy, and not tolerate any misconduct or illegal activity.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for that perspective. And is there any other questions we have for Sheriff Luna? Leah, is there anything? Oh, I see a hand just got raised, so we'll take this question and then we'll move on throughout our candidate forum. Carolyn, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Sheriff. Would you comment about the sheriffs and ICE and what you're doing to protecting the community from the abuse of ICE?
Yeah, absolutely. I've come out publicly multiple times and talked about the fact that ICE is not behaving in a professional and dignified or humane way. Personally, my father migrated here from Sinaloa, Mexico. My mother was born here, but only because her parents were farmers. So when you talk about ICE and immigration, it is very personal to me from a personal level. But then at a law enforcement level, the sheriff's department does not cooperate with ICE. I know other people have said that, but remember this, if somebody's trying to be the sheriff, you got to have integrity. You got to be honest. And it's important to know that because of state law and even county policy that is much more strict, we are not allowed to be involved in civil immigration enforcement. Now, what's happened in the community is at times you have people on both sides of the equation that will call for help when things get very tense. And a lot of that is due to the lack of training and professionalism from ICE agents or other federal agents. And we will go out there to keep the peace. But it's interesting because when our deputies go out there, they're not masked, they're clearly identified. We actually have made videos to go out to our community to educate them. And then I've put policies in place that direct the deputies on what exactly to do when they go out there. I'm about to put out a second policy that deals with, because we have a policy that says that if you witness force, you have a duty to intervene. So I'm looking at a different way of approaching situations where people are complaining that federal agents may have used excessive force on them. But please be aware that as serious as this issue is, as repulsive as their behavior is, don't let somebody come on here and tell you they're going to do things that are against federal law. And you have to stay within the parameters of the law. And that's the balance that I'm trying to find. And I'm just being completely honest with you because my job is to enforce the law. And by the way, just so all of you know, I have personally been threatened by the U.S. Attorney's Office that I'm not cooperating with them enough. And they don't want our deputies to intercede in any way. So it's a tough issue. And know that as your sheriff, I speak out about this not only here, and there's multiple interviews I've done on the media, which I can send all of you to show what my position and how clear it is. But I also speak out as the sheriff of LA County across this country, where I'm in rooms with sheriffs and police chiefs from other states like Texas and Alabama who think very differently about this issue. And I'm able to bring significant balance and my own personal journey to give people a little bit more compassion about how we should be treating people. Because I'll tell you, I'm just going to wrap up saying this. It's one thing when you have somebody committing a serious crime or a violent crime, but this nonsense of chasing day laborers at Home Depots, people at car washes, tackling ladies making tacos on the corner, that is absolutely 100% unacceptable. And we should not accept it under any circumstances.
Thank you, Sheriff Lunan, for sharing your vision and answering our questions. Like I said before, we'll be taking up our endorsement ballots via electronic ballot after our meeting is over. So we won't have the results tonight, but we will be reaching out to all of our candidates. And I want to thank you. I know you guys are hopping all over the place right now from clubs to clubs. So I want to thank you for taking the time to come share and speak with us. And everyone, still having integrity and also knowing how to move forward, right, is the key here. And we need to all kind of practice that and keep our patience and our wits about us because everyone who's joining these meetings right now, we're all leaders in our own right. And so our communities are looking forward, us to give them guidance, hence the reason why I'm even recording this, so people can hear from candidates that they might not usually hear from. So with that being said, because I do have a lot of candidates, I want to move on to our judicial races now. And so, the LA County Sheriff, judges, we all know, kind of go hand in hand. So this was a great time to put these two races together. And I wanted to check in with our judicial candidates. I know some are kind of hopping around from meetings to meetings, but I believe I have a speaking order here from Leah. Is David on? David, is it Dejut or Dehut? Sorry if I am going to butcher your last name.
You did not butcher my last name. Thank you very much. Uh,
Oh,
David DeJute. Let me see if I can get my camera on.
sure. So I will start. Go ahead and start with you, and you'll have like a couple of minutes to introduce yourself and your campaign, and then we can, take a couple of questions. Like I said, we do have several candidates, so we're going to move pretty, quickly through. But I'm going to spotlight you so that you will have the floor. Okay. All
Thank
right.
you very
All
much,
you.
Madam President.
No.
David DeJute. I'm running for judicial seat number 87. and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I used to work in Culver City. I was a vice president of the Sony Pictures Entertainment Group, where we did a lot of good work. But, I'm running for judge because I believe in community service, and I believe that every person deserves a right to be heard. Um, I'm so sorry. I'm going to take just a slight pause. I have to get my bird, or he's going to continue to. Oh, this is Cisco, and he's very quiet when I'm quiet. But as soon as I start talking, he starts talking. So I'm sure he'll be quiet now. Forgive me. Um, I worked at the U.S. Attorney's Office. I represented President Barack Obama. I was the assistant U.S. attorney who was asked to do that because they thought I would do a good job. I was for that very important case. My mother tells the story about her joy in hearing her son introduce myself in court by saying, "May it please the court, David A.D. on behalf of the United States and President Barack Obama." And I handled that case at the trial level and on appeal in the Ninth Circuit. I want to be a judge. My dad was a judge. He was a very good judge because when people were before him and they won, they thought he was very fair and judicious. But they even thought that when he lost, then they lost. And I think that's the goal. We have a divisive country right now being torn apart. And I think that giving fairness to litigants is a way of resolving that. I've tried to do that in my own practice. I had a case where it was very contentious. My cross-examination led to the a referral of a criminal place to the physician who was testifying. And the other side asked me to talk to his client and see if we could settle the case. I did. We couldn't. And then I won the case and we got a defense verdict. Very nice. I walked over, extended my hand to opposing counsel, and the plaintiff knocked it away. Oh, that's okay. He lost. But instead, he shook my hand and said, "Mr. DeJute, I really would have liked to win, but I want to thank you for playing fair and for being honorable." Well, that I think is the gold standard of what you want in a judge. You want a judge who is fair and impartial and is absolutely opposed to bias of any kind. I'm a proud Democrat. I've been a Democrat all my life. I'm endorsed by the Los Angeles County Democratic Party. I see a question, am I running for multiple offices? The answer is no, only for judicial seat number 87. I have two opponents. They are not current judges. This is an open seat. One is a public defender and one is a city attorney. I'm currently a law professor at Pepperdine Caruso School of Law. I took a step back for the past year and a half because we opened a disaster relief clinic for the fire victims of Eaton and the Palisades fire. We provide pre-legal help for anyone impacted by the fires, and we're still doing that, while at the same time teaching students the importance of representing clients and the importance of pro bono work. I was asked to take this position, and I only say this because I'm trying to impress you, but it's true. I took a big financial step back to do this, and it was not so that I could position myself to run for judge. I don't know that it's helpful, but I do think that's what you want in a judge, the idea of community service, where public spirit is very important because our communities need to be healed. I happen to be gay. I've been with my same partner for 40 very long years. We have a son. And just because I'm gay does not mean I am not biased or I don't have prejudices. I do, you know, I do have bad ways of thinking. And I try every day to correct that through good thinking by realizing that all of us are morally equivalent. We're equal. The differences that each of us have are much, much, much less important than our humanity. and no one should be treated differently based on any minority. I hear singing in the background. My son
Oh,
says
sorry.
I have a I have a tendency to be verbose, so forgive me. I'm happy to wrap up, and I would really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, and if I'm merited, get your endorsement. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So yeah, just for our just due to over going over a little bit over time, I was just reminded, and this is my fault for not getting our timer up because we I was not yeah, I'm too
If,
busy
if you're
multitasking.
willing to
But
accept the
yes,
fault for my
I will
my verbosity, I really appreciate that.
no problem. So I guess one question, very similar to our sheriffs, going back to the flaws of criminal justice. So what is the main thing that you see as a flaw with our judicial system here in LA County?
Well, it's access to justice. And unfortunately, access to justice in this country means financial ability to pay for lawyers, to pay for bail, to pay for right representation. The public defender's office is overburdened. We need more money. The judicial system needs more money. We've borrowed as a state a great deal of money from the courts. We've had to close courts. We've had to limit access. We've had to raise fees. That's got to change. People have a right, both criminally and civilly, to be heard. And they can't be heard if they don't have the means to stand before the court. Uh, that's a problem. And you know, I'm limited to what I can do other than to, in my courtroom, make sure that everyone has access to justice, and to serve on committees and to make recommendations to the legislature. I don't think you want a judge that goes outside of what I'm supposed to do. I can be impeached, I can be removed, but I do think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to help those who cannot help themselves.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I want to thank you for joining us. And so I will again emphasize like we're going to be doing electronic ballot for our endorsement. So we won't have a decision tonight, but we will be reaching out to our candidates once our election and for endorsement has concluded. So thank you so much. I am being
My
pushed to
pleasure.
move on
Thank you.
because I can be a chatterbox too, so don't feel bad.
Thank you.
So I want to check in and see, do I have Zachary available? Oh, I see you right here. Easy. Okay, so I'm going to move on. I am going to start our timer just for guidance. And like I said, I apologize because I forgot that this even existed in Zoom. So go ahead. You have a couple minutes to introduce yourself, and then we'll get started with a couple questions.
Thank you. My name is Zachary Smith. I'm running for seat 176. I've been a public defender for Los Angeles County for 23 years. The reason I became a public defender was because I care about protecting civil rights. I've been endorsed by LA County Democratic Party as well as Santa Monica Democratic Party. And part of the reason I've been a Democrat my entire life, and I would mean my entire life since I was a small child, growing up in Washington, D.C., is because it reflects my values, supporting working people, the strength of diversity, protecting civil rights. These are things I care about and why I became a public defender. I grew up in Washington, D.C. I'm one of 10 children, fourth out of 10, 5 biological, 5 adopted. Pardon me. Sorry about that. 5 adopted, 3 from foster care, multiracial, gay and straight, black and white. And that taught me so much growing up in a big family, being the youngest for a while, being the middle for many years, and then being the oldest for a while and playing all those roles on how to deal with people, how to have it not be about yourself. I think the important thing about being a judge is there are a number of things. First is temperament. You have to be able to go without ego. You have to be able to not, like I said, not insert your ego into it, and treat everybody with respect. You're not the middle of the storm. You're not the storm. You're the eye of the storm. You're there to provide the calm influence on the situation. Integrity, fairness, integrity, standing up for what you believe, regardless, or what's right, what the law says, regardless of whether or not it's what you would prefer. I know I'm running out of time. I apologize. Um, Integrity, experience. Like I said, I've been doing this for 23 years. I've done dozens and dozens of trials, many life trials. And humanity, treating everybody who comes before you as if they could be someone who you love, one of your loved ones, not seeing them as somebody who's an other. These are the things that are incredibly important. Work ethic. So these are the things that I intend to bring to the bench if I am elected. These are the things that I see somewhat are lacking. And wisdom. Wisdom means putting together your own intellectual ability with understanding where it fits in the larger context. So your understanding and my understanding from my own life experience of being in Narcotics Anonymous rooms, with friends, bringing them in there and having them be in a safe place and seeing what happens there and how addiction works, seeing how trauma affects addiction, seeing how mental health affects the criminal justice system, how much it does.
Mm-hmm.
So putting everything in that context is what background that I bring to the table.
Awesome. So thank you so much for sharing. And then just a kind of a basic question though, but very similar. Again, what is your like what do you feel like is your the flaw in the judicial system that you're hoping to correct and fix when being on the bench for the RLA Superior Court?
Well, I think when it comes to, my experience, basically, I think one thing that is huge is the fact that there's not enough resources in mental health or drug addiction for that matter. There are a decent number of drug rehabs, but not enough. A lot of them are not the greatest. They're a little bit fly by night. They're not the greatest conditions. And so that needs to improve, and there need to be more of them. But especially there needs to be more facilities and more resources for mental health at all levels of care. There probably should be more state hospitals. There are too many people in county jail or in state prison who just have mental illness. But many steps below that for people who are, let's say, on mental health diversion and need, let's say, the kind of facility, for example, where they have their own apartment, but there is someone there who helps them with making sure their medication is taken, keeping an eye on them, making sure that they're doing okay. Levels like that. So there's at every level, there needs to be more. So often I worked with district attorneys where they have an interest in protecting the community, but so do I. And they also agree with me that we'd like to see my client live a good life and not reoffend. And they're open to making sure that that person gets treatment because it serves everybody. There's no recidivism and they live better and society is safer. Except we both agree that we can't find enough of the right resources to help people. So those are a big one. And then a third thing I can just say off the bat quickly is that we need more people with a varied experience and background on the bench. I think far too often there's people with limited life experience, limited background, limited diversity. And because of that, people are just pulling from their own background and they have an unrealistic view of how things actually happen in a lot of circumstances on the street. And then their rulings are faulty because of that, because their rulings don't reflect truth. And I think being a public defender, there are a number of other public defenders running, but in addition to that, my life experience, these are the kind of things that we need on the bench because we can rule more honestly many times because we have this background and experience to understand how things go.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. I know that you guys are hopping all over the place right now from meeting to meeting. And so I really wanted to thank you for joining us and taking a few minutes to share about your vision for the seat. And if also, candidates, if you want to put your campaign websites and information in our chat so our members can look things up, I did in our agenda link to your websites or your social media pages, but it's also very helpful helpful if you want to put it in the chat. So I want to thank you, Mr. Smith, for joining us and wish you the best of luck. And again, we'll be getting back to our candidates once we finish our endorsement vote. With that being said, because I know
Thank you.
so many of you guys are on different Zooms at the same time, I don't envy that life at all. I want to go on to our next candidate. If she is on, is it Miss Donna? Is it Treifman?
It is Triffman. I am right here.
Treifman. Ah,
Hi.
okay. Hi. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and spotlight you, and
Thank
then
you.
also bring up our timer. Let me know if you can see it. It's a little bit challenging with these different little things going on. Okay, so
I yeah,
there
I
we
don't.
go.
Oh, there we go. Thank you
Okay,
so
there we
much.
go.
So I have a
Yeah.
prepared speech for you guys. Thank you so much for having me. The time that we spend hopping around is nothing compared to the time that you're spending getting to know us. I think that's so important. My name's Donna Triffman. I'm running for Office 131. I'm running for judge because I believe deeply in fairness, dignity, and equal justice. And I've spent more than 30 years putting those principles into practice. I am a career deputy public defender for Los Angeles County. I've had the privilege of serving in the major cases unit. That's my current assignment, where I handle the most serious and complex cases in our system, which are special circumstance homicides. I've supervised attorneys in the juvenile court. I've served as a temporary judge, and I've worked in programs like Teen Court to help young people find a path forward instead of a path deeper into the system. Youth services and restorative justice in the youth juvenile system is one of my passions. I want to be clear that my experience is not just a ticker tape of numbers. I'm very, very aware that while I have tried over 100 cases, that each one of those numbers and each one of those case files represents a person and a human being with a story, with potential, with dignity that needs to be told. And that perspective, I believe, is at the heart of our democratic values, that every person matters and that every person deserves to be treated fairly under the law. So I'm also running as someone who's been shaped by real life outside of the courtroom. I'm the daughter of immigrants, a widow, and a single mother. I know what it means to navigate systems that aren't always designed to be fair, to carry heavy responsibility, and to make difficult decisions under very heavy pressure, and to keep moving forward with resilience. Those experiences shape how I approach the bench with strength, humanity, and empathy. I'm also the only woman in my race at a time when women remain underrepresented on the bench in Los Angeles. Representation matters, I believe, not as symbolism, but because our lived experience informs how we listen, how we understand, and how we judge. The combination of my courtroom experience, my public service, I've been a rent stabilization commissioner, housing affordability, and housing issues, and landlord and tenants issues interest me very much. As Democrats, we believe in equal justice, not just in theory, but in practice. We believe that our courts must be places where bias is confronted, where fairness is not optional, and where people are treated with respect regardless of who they are or where they come from. Being a judge is not about power, it's about responsibility. It's about recognizing the weight of every decision and the fact that there's a human being behind every decision that you are making. It's about ensuring that implicit bias doesn't influence outcomes. And it's about applying the law fairly and consistently every single time. I have spent my career doing that work, and
We're
I'm
over
asking for your
time a little bit.
endorsement. Oh, I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
okay. Yeah, no problem. So yeah, just a really quick, if you want to take just a few seconds to answer the question about, your perspective of what kind of what you consider the biggest flaw to be in the judicial system and what you plan to do to, change that in that, once you're, excuse me, on the bench.
Yes, thank you. I agree with Zachary. I think that our system really does not have enough mental health hospitals and state hospitals. We do need to expand the gold standard Office of Diversion and Reentry program. That seems to be working very well in the county. And frankly, for underserved and marginalized communities, the digital divide in the court system is very, very wide. And so I would seek avenues and be on committees that could simplify the system for our underserved and marginalized communities, because getting that big forms packet is very, very difficult to navigate.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
yeah, I know you guys are hopping around, so I am
Hopping
going
around.
to also keep going so that we can get through all of our judicial candidates. So this was Donna Triffman.
Crickman. Yes,
Okay.
thank you so much.
No
I'll
problem.
pop
Thank
back
you.
in.
Okay,
Thank you
thank you
all.
so much. And I also saw your campaign information is also put in our chat. So if you would like more
Yes, ma'am.
information, please feel free to check out her website and her information, which is in the chat. So I want to move on to our next candidate. Is Mr. Thompson, are you? Oh, I see you there.
I'm here.
All right, let me highlight you and get our timer going so that we can move on. There we go. All right, and so we have a timer here. I don't think it's very loud though, but it should be up in your corner there. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Gina, and thank you, Culver City, for having me. I'm very humbled and very thankful that you're willing to give your time to listen to me. I am Paul Thompson. I'm running in seat 116. I appreciate, Gina, what you had said at the outset that criminal justice reform is something that's very important to us and to this Democratic club. One of the motivations I have for running is that I do believe that our elected officials have fought very hard, and it's been a long road to try and get some laws passed that have emphasized diversion, that have emphasized second chances. I've visited prisons and I've met with prisoners who are serving long sentences, and I'm aware that there are people who are programming well and who are ready for a second chance. And that's something that I intend to take very seriously if you honor me with the opportunity to become a judge. I also believe very strongly that we should have equal treatment under the law. It's something that I have demonstrated and I've sacrificed for as an attorney. I've been a deputy district attorney. I'm in my 20th year. During the Me Too movement, starting in 2017, I took a leading role in my office in prosecuting the entertainment industry cases. I was the lead prosecutor on the Harvey Weinstein case because I believe that people who are victims of crime by rich and powerful people also deserve the same equal measure of justice. I'm running against a judge. He has a very lengthy history of discipline. He's been disciplined by the Commission on Judicial Performance 3 times. He is the most overturned judge on appeal in his courthouse, and mostly for failing to follow the laws designed to give second chances. He had, in one instance, one law in particular, he's been overturned 7 times for failing to follow that law. And in one instance, he declared that law unconstitutional. That was swiftly overturned on appeal. But it just shows where his heart is at and that he is not somebody who believes in those laws. And of course, judges, if they don't believe in a law, they don't have to violate it and get overturned by the Court of Appeal to still do what they want to do, because the judges are entrusted with a lot of power. And I want you to know where his heart is at and where my heart is at. I've been endorsed by the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, by Stonewall Democratic Club, Avance Democratic Club, Santa Monica Democratic Club, and Torrance Democratic Club. But I would, when my wife and I moved to Los Angeles 23 years ago, we started our lives here in the Culver City area. And so it would mean a lot to me to be endorsed by this Democratic club.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I know I'm being pushed to keep going because we're so short on time, but I want to thank you so much for sharing your campaign and your vision for the seat with us. And so I know that I saw you put your campaign information in the chat, and I also have linked it in our agenda as well, so that our members can also, learn more about your campaign and how to reach you, and if they have any additional questions. But we do have to keep going. And I know that you guys might have additional clubs you might have to hop to as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to thank you for joining us. And I want to
Thank
keep
you.
going and move on to our next judicial candidate. Give me 2 seconds. I know we're kind of pushing a little bit into the 8 o'clock hour, but this is just so good. All right, so I want to go on to our next candidate is Cheryl Turner. Are you here?
I am here.
Oh, there you are. Okay, let me spotlight you. Okay, and then we'll have the timer 2 minutes, 15 seconds just to because that 15 seconds gives me a couple minutes or time to get going. There we go. All right. Go ahead.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Cheryl Turner. I'm running for seat number 66 for Superior Court Judge. Many of you may have encountered me or worked with me as we worked on issues for the Democratic Party, more so focused on legislative issues, which, as you know, is where they make the law. But as the judges, we interpret and we apply the law that's being created by the legislature. So you met me in the legislative and the political context, but the other aspect of my life is that I have been practicing as an attorney for more than 30 years. In Los Angeles, LA County overall. And I am, my family, they immigrated from the South. So I guess so to say we're immigrants too. When my grandmother came here, my mother and father met here, and I attended the public schools here. It was a great education. USC offered me a scholarship, so I studied undergrad there and at law school. And so I had an opportunity to clerk for a federal judge, and that gave me exposure to the court system and how the court operated. And I did see some injustices there from time to time. And I wanted to make sure that if I continued to work, that one day I would be in the judicial system so that I can make a difference, improve people's lives, and provide safety for the community. So after working in various environments, I did become a judge pro tem, and I'm currently serving as a judge pro tem now. And for those of you that don't know what that means that I serve as a temporary judge. I'm still allowed to practice law, but I come in when the judges are not available, the regular ones are not available or busy. Is my time up?
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you
that's
so
it.
much.
All right. So I would love to have your endorsement. Please consider me. Fairness, balance, justice for all.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Thank you for joining us. It's nice seeing you. And so I want to keep going to our next candidate so we can get through everyone. I know we still have a few more to go here. So I want to move next to, is it Anna Ritano?
Yeah, it's Anna Raitano.
Okie dokie. So let me highlight you here. And for some reason, I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty finding. I got it. Okay, there we go. I'm spotlighted. Okay, there we go. You are spotlighted.
Yay.
Oh, there. So I'm going to start our timer here. And then feel free. Go ahead.
So in 2022, I ran as part of the original Defenders of Justice slate, and your club was the first one to endorse me, and I think the video is still up. So you guys can see that. I have not changed. I've just got 4 more years of experience. I came very close to winning that time, and that campaign shifted the conversation around judicial elections. At that point, a public defender at number 1. I was one of 3 or 4 public defenders running. And I didn't win, but I shared everything I had with other public defenders so we could get more people on the bench because we need different perspectives. All this talk about mental health, that started when we ran. No one talked about that before. It was very tough on crime. So the momentum continues. And I'm asking for your support again because I want to finish what we started together as, with Culver City Dems. You guys are my first endorsement. What distinguishes my candidacy in this race is the breadth of experience I have across the justice system, and it's all dedicated to public interest work. I clerked at the DAs in law school, but I knew I wanted to be a defense attorney. I worked in criminal defense and handled labor and administrative law for a bit. And then I ended up joining the public defender's office. I spent over a decade there, 3 years specifically in juvenile, and 5.5 years in serious felonies. I left in 2024 to become a deputy county counsel in the Justice and Safety Division, supervising trials But most importantly, I shifted my focus to advising departments dedicated to care, community investment, and alternatives to incarceration. So I'm actually helping to make the framework of the system itself more just. Rather than doing it one client at a time, I'm making the entire thing more fair for everyone. Judges exercise significant discretion within the law, and that should be guided by fairness and humanity. With 20 years of public service, 17 as an attorney, I bring a well-rounded, practical understanding of how the justice system impacts real people. I've been a courtroom advocate, a government advisor. I've worked with the indigent, victims, law enforcement, and now I'm a mother of 3 and a family member of someone who is in the justice system. So it allows me to approach cases with rigor and empathy. I'm supported by East Area Progressive Democrats, Citizens for Accountable Leadership, judges, public defenders, mental health professionals. I'm asking for your endorsement one more time to bring this balanced perspective back to the bench, or to the bench.
Thank you.
And to carry
Thank
forward
you.
what we
That was your
started.
time. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, sorry, I know we're kind of short on time. And so we're going through very quickly on our candidates, but I do appreciate all of you for joining us. So I do want to move on to our next candidate. Is Justin on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, here, I'm going to go ahead and highlight you, reset this timer. Um, I know I'm a millennial, but sometimes I do have trouble managing a bunch of different things at once. All right, so there we are. There you are. Okay, hi, Justin. And I'm going to start the timer now. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me today. Fun fact, I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. However, I played Pop Warner or youth football for the Culver City Lancers. I think they're now called the Culver City Cowboys, but it's just a full circle moment for me because Culver City had such a great part in shaping who I am. From the ages of 8 to 13 years old, I was involved in youth sports heavily in Culver City. So I am grateful for the opportunity to be here, and an endorsement from you all would mean so much to me. I'm proud to be a lifelong Democrat. I was raised in a Democratic household while I was taught the values of fairness, quality, equality, and opportunity. Those values are not just political ideas to me. They have guided my personal life. Sorry, I had my own timer going. Um, and my professional career. For over a decade, I have served the people of Los Angeles County as a public defender. In that role, I have stood alongside individuals from all walks of life, ensuring that their constitutional rights are protected and that our system of justice works fairly for everyone, not just those with resources. My work has given me a deep understanding of the real life impact our courts have on families and communities. Beyond the courtroom, I have remained committed to service. As president of the Los Angeles Black Public Defenders Association, I have helped lead efforts focused on community engagement, mentorship, and access to justice. That includes organizing and participating in expungement clinics, know your rights panels, food and toy drives, and outreach programs that bring resources directly to underserved communities. These experiences reflect the core values of the Democratic Party: a commitment to equity, community, and justice. I believe our courts should reflect those same principles: fairness, dignity, and respect for every person who enters the courtroom. As a judge, I will apply the law faithfully, remain impartial, and ensure that every individual is heard. I bring not only experience, but a perspective grounded in service, community, and a lifelong commitment to democratic values. I currently serve as a deputy in charge of the Inglewood branch of the Public Defender's Office. In that capacity, I supervise felony and misdemeanor attorneys. I also train new attorneys. And I hear that my time is up, but I thank you all so much for the opportunity to be here today. Again, go Culver City, and I look forward to your endorsement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justin. And you put your information in the chat as well, right?
I did, and if anyone has questions, feel free to ask me at Clayton4, the number 4, Clayton4Judge@gmail.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And if anyone's hanging around before hopping off, or you want to answer a question or two in the chat, please feel free. The chat is open. So I want to keep going along. So next we have up on our speaking list, Miss Rhonda Heyman. Is it Hyman or Heyman? Sorry.
Hi, it's Heyman. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. I'm going to spotlight you here so that everyone can see you, and I'll get our timer going. I don't know if you can see it from your phone, but
Okay.
okay,
Oh, the
go
timer
ahead.
I do.
Yeah, okay,
Oh my,
perfect.
I'm already started. Hi, I am Rhonda Heyman. And the first thing is that there are two very important days of your life: the day you were born and the day you know why. Well, I know why. I've been a servant of the law for 26 years. I've been a deputy public defender in the courtroom, standing near and with strong, the most unpopular person in the room and in the courtroom. And what I've done over 100 jury trials, only having lost four, and one was overturned on appeal by making a record. I have been able to tap into the hearts of the jurors for them to be able to see the that is standing with me. And through that, I've been able to bring out not guilties. And that has not been easy. And that was done with knowledge of the law. See, I went away to school at Tuskegee University, and I went to law school at Willamette, and I came back, and I always knew that I was accomplishing these things to bring back to my community progress, healing, and transformation. And I've been doing that. As a law school professor, an adjunct law school professor at Southwestern Law School, teaching criminal procedure and litigation, I have been helping to shape the future of our courtroom so that the acts like the Racial Justice Act and all those acts that the voters have been asking for. They've been asking for mental health treatment. They've been asking for substance abuse treatment. I've been the person on the front lines fighting for the things that the voters have been asking for, and I will do it on the bench. I will win on the bench for all of us using the law to help transform our community. I am the product of a Navy veteran who was a medic flying in to save people when he was in the military. And I will do it on the bench. I will stand strong and not be moved. I'm okay with being uncomfortable. And that's what real judges have to do in order to follow the law. I am committed and I stand committed to being your next judge. Seat 64, Rhonda Heyman. Let the healing begin.
Thank you so much. That was so succinct and concise. I love it. All right. Thank you so much, Rhonda. Okay, music done. Um, and so I know I saw your information in the chat, so you guys please feel free to go and learn more about her and her campaign. Also, if you don't see it in the chat on our meeting agenda, it is linked there. I tried to link all of our candidates. All right, so going on to our next candidate. I am going to probably not say this name correctly, but is Angie on? Is it Christidis?
I
Oh,
see
there you
her
are.
here.
Yes, I see you here. Okay. Angie, you're muted, but I'm going to go ahead and spotlight you. I still have you muted.
Sorry about that.
All right, there we go. No
Technical
problem.
difficulties.
All right. Yes, I understand. So I'm going to start your timer. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Angie. I'm running in seat 14. I have been a registered Democrat since I was 18 years old. And I've spent the past 20 years of my career in the DA's office. My careers have been a little bit unique because the first decade or so I spent mostly doing felony trials. About 70 or so, half of them have been homicides. And then I spent the second half of my career working in alternative sentencing, mental health diversion, rapid diversion, pre-arrest diversion. So I really had the opportunity to kind of get the balance of both of those sides of the criminal justice system. And I have an understanding of the need between responsibility or accountability and rehabilitation. And I got to tell you, in the diversion aspect, particularly when we have a defendant who comes from a community where there's support, particularly in our veterans community, the results we've seen are incredible. The rehab, assuming that the client or the defendant gets the resources they need, really have given amazing opportunities to some of these men and women. But every judicial candidate has courtroom experience. The thing that really distinguishes me is that I'm a fighter, and I will fight for what's right, even if it's to my detriment. I will spend hours fighting for the rights of the surviving family members of murder victims, even if it goes to the detriment of my personal life. I will fight to make sure that defendants get the resources that they need to get the rehab and the treatment that they need. And I will fight to keep police accountable. Throughout my career, I have fought to make sure that law enforcement does not misrepresent or keep evidence out of the court or omit evidence. And I've done so to my detriment because, as you might imagine, there's a lot of retaliation that comes about when you try and tell the police that they're wrong. But that is the only way, by fighting for what's right, that we can build trust back between the public and the justice system. And once the public trusts the justice system, then they have access. Then when someone walks into my courtroom, they know they're going to be treated with fairness, dignity, and civility. And I see I'm over time. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And yeah, if you could, or if you haven't already, put your information for your campaign in our chat for our members to follow up with you, or follow your campaign if they would like more information. That would be great. Or if people want to ask a question in the chat, feel free. If you have a second to hang on a little bit, you can feel free to answer any questions in our chat as well.
Sure.
But I do, because I know for the sake of time, just keep going. I do want to go on to our next candidate as I'm wrestling with the stupid timer. Okay. I want to go on with to our next candidate, Tall. Um, and I'm going to find you because I just saw your name. Okay, there you are.
Yes,
There we are. Okay, there you go. And is it Tall or Tao?
Tal.
Tao. Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's
Um,
fine.
all right, so I'll start your timer now. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Tal Valbuena. I'm running in seat 2, and I'm running to be a judge because I want to protect the system of justice that protected me. I came to this nation 25 years ago with nothing but hope, starting my life from ground up as a dishwasher in a restaurant. Worked hard, learned English, put myself through community college, transferred to a college, and as I was becoming successful in this beautiful nation, I came to experience and see social ills, racism, inequities in play. I was subject of Islamophobia, homophobia, but I turned that into service. Serving on a jury changed my life forever. I witnessed an innocent man tried of murder, all because they were Black. That changed my life and drew me to law. Law was not a career choice, it was a calling. And to that end, I have made sure, after I became a DA, that no innocent person ever got convicted or ever got charged, under my watch at least. And that's the commitment of fairness that I have carried over the last decade. I work in mental health court now, where I try to help people get treatment, not prison time. I try to get people in structured settings where they can be safe and the communities around them can be safe. As a judge, I will be fair, firm, and humane. I will ensure that everyone who comes in the courtroom is heard, respected, understands the process. I'm running because I believe we can build a justice system that is not only strong, but compassionate, accessible to all. I will be fair, firm, and humane. If elected, I'd be honored to be the first gay person of color to be elected to the Superior Court bench, as well as one of the very few millennials who is running in the race. Be honored to have your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tal. Thank you for sharing with us. And again, if you can, just make sure your information was dropped in our chat. And we're going to keep going on and circle back, I believe, to our last judicial candidate. Is David Ross on? I know that.
Yep, I see him. He's
Okay.
unmuted.
I am here, Jenna.
The
I don't know
palm tree.
if things are breaking up. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. Thank you so much. I'm gonna spotlight you now, and then I'm
Pretty
going to
bad
start.
connection. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm gonna start your timer so that you can go ahead. All right, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone in Culver City. I want you to know I have a special place in my heart for Culver City. I lived there all during law school in the early 90s, and my family lived on College Avenue for 20 years, one of the prettiest streets in Culver City. I want you to know that I'm here tonight not to expect your endorsement. I want to earn your endorsement. I'm a public defender, not a politician. I am running for judge because the judicial system has been under assault from the top down for years, frankly, ever since Donald Trump became president. I'm running not to be an activist judge, but an independent judge. I became a public defender 31 years ago to help people. These are the kind of people that are 3 to 5 times more likely to be arrested, thrown in jail, and charged with a crime. They deserve due process. They deserve a fair system. And most importantly, the public deserves trust in that system. Over the years, I've represented 10,000 people. I've done 113 jury trials. I've been a law professor and a judge pro tem. I know the law. I will always keep learning. I will always be a great listening judge, but I'm also ready to hit the ground running. A little thing that makes me a little more interesting than the average person is that I also was a prior TV reporter and documentary producer for 10 years. I gathered the facts. I know how laws are made, and I told independent stories. So it's a real interesting, well-rounded background. People trust me. They trust my work ethic. They trust my honesty, and they trust, most importantly, my judicial temperament. I'm endorsed by 75 judges across the state of California, unions from electricians, postal workers, engineers, marine clerks. I have the endorsement of the EAPD, over 100 public defenders, prosecutors, and elected officials. Again, why? Because they know my work ethic and honesty and, again, judicial temperament. I'm here to earn your endorsement. I'm humbly asking you for it, and I appreciate your time so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Coming in right under the timer. I appreciate that. So yeah, feel free to please go ahead and put your information in our chat. And like I said, if members,
I
if you
did.
have a,
Yeah.
oh, thank you. If you have a question or two, if our candidates, feel like, answering questions in our chat, it's more than welcome to. It's open chat. So I want to kind of move on. That concludes our candidates. So I want to thank all of our judicial and sheriff's candidates. This was a very important conversation, and it's hearing from who's running. So this is going to be down ballot. So this is not going to be at the top of the ballot. It's going to be down ballot. Fill in those bubbles. Do not leave one bubble open, okay? I will come find you. Do not skip these races, because if you believe in criminal justice, if you believe that the system is rigged or whatever you want to say it is, it's because we are not participating in these races. So that is why tonight we are bringing the candidates to you. You know who is running, and so you have heard from them. You can now access them. You know their websites. So please do your due diligence, participate in this, because the future really is going to depend on it. So now I am going to end our recorded portion now, and then I want to go into so thank you for joining us. So this is going to end our recorded portion. So thank you for if you watch this later on.